The Bostonian is Matt Perrault.
This is our city.
The book is Dave Sherapan.
Pay him. Pay that man his money.
Together, they are the Bostonian versus the book.
You covered 12. Covered!
Follow the show on Twitter at Boston versus the book.
How do you like them apples?
Bringing you the best insight on sports betting news, Matt and Dave's daily picks, and an entertaining and unfiltered dive into the sports betting industry. Here's Dave Sherapan and Matt Perrault.
And here we go.
What's up, guys? How are you? Welcome into a Wednesday afternoon episode of the Bostonian versus the book. My name is Matt Perrault. You guys can follow me on my socials at Sports Talk Matt, as we are live on YouTube and on X Twitter. Those accounts are at Boston versus the book, or replayed on Sports Grid Television and on Sirius XM channel 159. Thank you for being here, guys. We got a lot to get to on the program today for this Wednesday, July the 23rd. Guest today will be Andrew Erickson of Betting Pros and Fantasy Pros. NFL training camps have opened up. It feels different already. Like, you can already feel the countdowns beginning to get to football. We're already getting a chance to feel everyone sort of looking ahead and clicking back in. We have had the summer, and even though the summer's not over and we got a couple of weeks left, it does feel like we are rapidly coming to the end of summer. And that means the beginning of the NFL and the college football season. I mean, August 23rd for week 0 is like tomorrow, it feels like. Now, I got a lot going on. My sister's getting married on Friday. I'm going to Scotland in 2 weeks. Like, yeah, there's a lot of things going on and a lot of summer left. But let's talk about the biggest storylines and Erickson's massive into the fantasy world. If you guys have questions for your fantasy football team, now I always say literally nobody cares about your own fantasy team. However, when it comes to the strategy for picking your own fantasy team, and you guys will start to have drafts here in the next couple of weeks, Erickson's a good guy to, pose the question to. What's the best philosophy? What about this type of player? What about that rehab? What about drafting that player first or second, third round, whatever it might be? So in the chat, you guys can fire questions that I will go ahead and get to Andrew Erickson coming up here in about 20 minutes of time. Before we do that, we'll do the opening line, and I want to update you on Dave. So yesterday, if you're not on Twitter or Twitter X, you missed the update from Dave. So this is from Dave. Quick update. After 14 days in the hospital, I was discharged. More to come. So a lot of you have been celebrating this, and I'm celebrating this. And everybody is like, this is great news. It is great news that Dave is out of the hospital, because being in the hospital for that long is really hard. Okay. But I don't want to set everybody up for false expectations as to what's going on at the moment. They actually don't know right now where they are from a diagnosis standpoint. The family, I've been in contact both with Dave and his wife, Jessica, in the last 12 hours, and they're trying to figure out what comes next. There has been some complications from the surgery that is going to take them down a longer path than what we had initially thought for Dave. What does that mean? I don't even know. They don't know either at the moment. And if I did know, I don't think I would share it, because I don't think I'm at liberty. That's for Dave and his family to share what is going on. So I'm again going to ask you to go and write a message to our guy and try to keep his spirits up. That tweet is unlike Dave. You guys know Dave doesn't write 3 sentences and leaves it like that. Doesn't what he normally does. Okay. He'll write and explain, and he loves to write. So, but he has his phone back. He is out of the hospital. And he is seeing things on Twitter. So at SportsBKConsig on Twitter X, go write him a message. Go tell him we're thinking about him. Go tell him that we're all pulling for him and that he's going to get through this. And it's, no matter what obstacle gets put in their way, we will find a way. I mean, always forward, never straight has never been more appropriate for a Dave Sherapan slogan than right now, because We kind of thought it was going to be A plus B equals C for Dave. And the universe just laughs at anybody who makes plans like that. Like we don't get to live a life like that, where everything is supposed to go according to plan and everything is supposed to go exactly the way we want it to. So it hasn't been, but always forward means we're going forward. It's never going to be a straight line. It's always going to be a crooked line in some form or fashion. And the path that we're going to walk down is going to be difficult. Okay. It's going to be difficult. What does that mean? I don't know. Dave doesn't know. Nobody knows. But for today, do us all a favor. At SportsBKKunsig. If you're on Twitter or X, go write him a message. Tell him we're thinking about him. Tell him we're all pulling for him to recover and get through this, because the rehab is going to be difficult. In the wake of the surgery, there's going to be a lot of things that will go into, aside from the fact that he was just in the hospital for 14 days, which is, I wouldn't wish that on many people. That's a really hard thing to get through, and they're through it. But now some other things are beginning. So that's all that I know and all that I can share, and I'm at liberty to share. I will do my best to keep you guys up to speed with what is happening, but at SportsBKKunsig, go write him a message. Tell the big guy that we're thinking about him, and hopefully he gets through this next phase and can keep his spirits up as he battles, because the battle has officially begun. The surgery is, a lot of people say the surgery is the easy part, right? It's what happens afterwards, which is really difficult, and that really is when things get complicated and tough. And so the battle is beginning for our guy. Time for the opening line. All right, opening line today. Let's talk about the Big Ten. And let's talk about what is going on with the Big Ten versus the SEC. Because this is an unbelievable brawl. And it could destroy the sport. I mean, college football already has been fundamentally transformed forever through NIL and now paying of players, essentially, cutting them into the profit margins of the football programs that they're playing for. So we're seeing $1 million contracts. We're seeing gigantic amounts of money being paid to now athletes. We can take the student part off the student athlete. That doesn't exist anymore. But the Big Ten and the SEC are on a collision course over how to determine who wins the national champion. The current 12-team model needs to be amended after what happened last year, because it was ridiculous that Boise State got a bye and Arizona State got a bye, and these, quote, conference champions and how they played and what they did, it was just ridiculous. Like, we knew it was ridiculous. And now seeing it actually go and be implemented, we know we have to change it. So in 25, this year, nothing is changing. But after 2025, after that, in 2026, we are going to change either how we do it or the number of teams that are going to be in the college football playoff. But the Big Ten wants a model, wants something that is a little bit interesting. They want a model in which they're calling the 4-4-2-2 model, which is our 2-2-2-1 model, 4 automatic qualifiers to the SEC and the Big Ten, 2 from the ACC and the Big 12, and 1 from the group of 6 champion, combined with 3 at-large selections to make up a 16-team bracket. As you would expect, the ACC and the Big 12, they are screaming mad about this. They want nothing to do with this. They think it's completely wrong, as you would expect. The surprise from all of this is that the SEC equally agrees that this is wrong. They are equally and strongly against what is happening from a college football playoff perspective, and they have killed it. As the USA Today wrote yesterday, Big Ten's rigged college football playoff plan shut down by the SEC. The Big Ten's plan for a rigged college football playoff ran out of gas. The SEC drained its fuel. Well, why would they do that? Well, they want the 5-11 model. They want 5 automatic qualifiers and 11 at large. The reason why the Big Ten is so adamant about getting the 4-4-2-2-1 model approved is because they think it's going to be an SEC invitational, which it very well could be. But is that wrong? I am not one of those people that would say it's wrong, because some of these things that have been popping up, some of these quotes that are being said, it's kind of impossible to justify it, to be quite honest. It's kind of one of those things where you're like, wait a minute, this wasn't actually said, right? Tony Patetti, and I think that's how you say his last name, is in Vegas right now. The Big Ten is having their football media days right now. He said yesterday to Stuart Mandel and the folks at The Athletic that, quote, if you're 6-3 in the Big Ten, I'd argue that's a great record. He actually said that out loud. That a 6-3 team, that's actually a great record. Okay. Back up, Kirk Ferentz. What is going on? You think that going 6-3 is something to be proud of? Alabama went 5-3 last year in the SEC and did not make the playoff, and for right reasons, for the correct reasons. You lose 3 games in conference, you do not belong in a playoff. Period. End of story. No debate. The Big Ten is reminding me of the king and queen of England. Like, they've got some significance, right? They have some historical power. They generally are respected and looked up to, and people say, wow, there's the king and queen of England. But they know that the prime minister and parliament make the news, they make the noise, and they make the laws. They know that the power resides in that branch of government in England. And the king and queen, you're just figureheads, and the Big Ten has no power. They have no power. The SEC has all the power. And to be quite honest, I'm very thankful that the Big Ten has no power. Do you guys remember Jim Delaney? Does anybody remember Jim Delaney? I'm 48 years old. I've been talking about college football playoffs for my entire broadcasting career. So I am old enough to remember 2007. This is from Yahoo Sports in 2007. Okay, this is 2007. Let me read this to you. BCS haters may decide that Delaney is public enemy number 1, but inside the corridors of college athletics, he is respected, envied, and in some cases, feared. Delaney, according to one colleague, can, quote, exhibit Doberman-like aggressiveness with a bite to match his bark. He further has enriched the wealthiest conferences and cemented the BCS system that has drawn the ire of 2 of the most powerful men in its own conference. Penn State football coach Joe Paterno and Michigan football coach Lloyd Carr. But as he has done with the public outcry, Delaney largely has ignored the coach's call for a playoff. He readily admits a playoff could be good for the Division 1A football at large, but quickly adds, I don't work for college football at large. The reason why we had all of the wonky, weird, strange things from a college football championship deciding factor, putting college football as the only, at the time, the only champion awarded in the brains of people. We would pick the 2 best teams and tell them to go play versus having somebody earn it on the field. College football lived in some fantasy land because of Jim Delaney. I'm not going back to that. No way. I'm not going back to that. So the SEC should have all the power because the Big Ten had one of their, Gandalfs, if you will, you shall not pass, sitting there with a staff and creating this world that we all have lived in for far too long. Now the SEC, due to the power, the money, the TV, they control college football. And you could tell me the Big Ten's won the last 2 national champions, and that's been true. Ohio State and Michigan, because those are the 2 really powerful schools in the Big Ten. The rest of the Big Ten is sort of just latched on to those schools and happy to be in the conference with those 2 schools. You can go 6-3 and claim you had a good season. Sure. To be in a college football playoff is Looney Tunes. The SEC dominance is never going to be accepted by the Big Ten. It's never going to be accepted. They're going to claim that they're 1A and 1B and we're on the same level, but they're not. The Big Ten's the king of England. Great. We respect you. We look at you. But in all honesty, get ready for the idea that you have no power. This idea of 8 of 16 going to the SEC in the Big Ten is a woefully horrific idea for a variety of reasons. But the biggest of which, it's just a bad way of stacking the deck in college football. I don't need the 4th best team in the Big Ten in a college football playoff. I don't. I'll take the 4th best SEC school. I'll do that. I'll take a Florida. I'll take a Tennessee. I'll take an LSU. Depending on the year, I'll take them. I'm not interested in Iowa. Sorry. I'm really not. Okay. The 3rd best team in the Big Ten every year kind of gets mixed up. And maybe it's a USC. Maybe it could be a UCLA. Maybe it's a Washington. Maybe it's an Oregon. There's a conversation going on through the years as to what the teams looked like. But historically speaking, it's Iowa. It's Michigan State. These programs we know what they are. We know what they represent. They're perfectly comfortable being in the shadows of the powerful in the Big Ten. They don't ever really strive for it. It's why Kirk Ferentz has been left alone, and 8-4 Ferentz is a thing that Iowa is perfectly cool. Give me my bowl trip and I'm good. Just make sure that after I've done all my farm work, I can get the hell out of here and go to Arizona for a week to go watch my team play. There's not a national championship mantra. Maybe one day Nebraska will come back and be a part of this, and Nebraska will be the 3rd best team. But until they figure it out, and Matt Perrault says he's, quote, fixed the team, okay, until we see it on the field, I can't buy it. I don't want the 4th or even the 3rd best team in the Big Ten to be guaranteed a spot in the college football playoff. It's not smart. It's like this comment. Maryland's head coach said yesterday that he lost the locker room over player compensation. We now have another excuse for head coaches who have Lockersley had the worst year last year at Maryland since he's been there. And he claims that compensation, pay of play, divided his locker room and split his locker room up. Now we have another excuse for why you're not winning. You're not recruiting. You're not performing from Big Ten coaches. Oh, right. It's because the money. So I'm losing my players because they're fighting over who's getting what money. And while that might be somewhat of a valid point to make, saying it publicly is sort of an indictment that you don't know how to navigate the current rules, that you don't know how to navigate the current environment that college football is operating in. And so I lost the team. That's on me. I lost the team. What do we do now? I lost the team. The Big Ten has to understand, or at least be willing to, fall in line with what everybody else in college football is pushing for, because they're on an island by themselves. Nobody wants to see an automatic half of the field being from 2 conferences, because there are certain years where a program's going to have a great season. 2 or 3 programs could have a great season. I mean, Boise last year, for instance, right? I don't think Boise was one of the top 4 teams in college football, and but they should have been in the playoffs. They should have been in, not with a bye. We have to structure this correctly. But 5 automatic qualifiers, we should automatically put the winner of the ACC in and the winner of the Big 12 in. And then anybody else after that, if they're quote unquote worthy, I'm good with the committee coming up with 11 teams. I'm good with that argument. Who is 6, who is 7, who is 8. And I'm also good with making the college football playoff the college conference championship games qualify you to the playoff. Because I don't want that game to go away. I love those games. Those games are awesome. Win a championship on the field, not because of what you did in the regular season. Win it on a neutral field against a rival. Like Georgia and Texas played last year. They may meet again. That's awesome. Let's do it again. Let's run it back and have those teams play again. Those things are all good and positive for college football. 5 and 11. 5 automatic, 11 at large. The Big Ten might try to take its ball and go home. And if they do that, That's what I mean by the end of college football could happen. If the Big Ten decided that we're not playing this game and we're not going to live in a world run by the SEC, we're walking out. That's how college football splits. And we could have two separate leagues. And we have the NFL and the USFL on either side. And that's not that far-fetched. If these two do not want to coexist, or the Big Ten's not willing, because the ACC and the Big 12 are siding with the SEC. And the Big Ten's kind of all down there by themselves. But they could gain, 25, 26, 28 teams if they merged with, say, the American, or they emerge with the Mountain West Conference. There's ways for the Big Ten to expand even more and essentially play their own sport and play their own game, because there is no governing body. There is no NFL in terms of a commissioner and owners, and there's none of that. It's all just a group of people getting together and saying we want to play in this conference. So this is a fight over how do we determine the national championship. It's deeper than just that. Okay? It is deeper than just that. It has further implications beyond that. And there could be big problems on the horizon if the Big Ten does not want to play ball. They're going to have to play ball. And I don't know if they're going to. They may not. They're in Vegas right now claiming that they're not. They're not going to play ball at the moment. They think that this is a good idea. The commissioner thinks that a 6-3 team, hey, we go 6-3 in the Big Ten, we deserve a shot in the playoffs. Okay, good luck with that. NFL football is back, boys and girls. Amazingly enough, across the country, camps are opening up, including in Philadelphia, where the Eagles are opening up their camp looking to defend the Lombardi Trophy. Let's start talking. I can't believe it's taking me this long to bring this guy on. This is a bad move by me. Erickson, the one and only Andrew Erickson, joining us here on the Bostonian versus the Book. What is up, my friend? Welcome in. You're close to me. You're like an hour away from me right now instead of being like on the other side of the country. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing good, Matt. Excited to be on here talking NFL training camp. I know I just saw a report. They've already broke down the targets in the Patriots receiving corps. Stephon Diggs looks like he's in the best shape of his life. We'll see how that shakes out. But yeah, the juices are flowing. NFL season is already starting to kick off. We have a game in July for the NFL, which the NFL just had to put it. They had to sneak it in July 31st just so they could broadcast, hey, we got NFL football this month. So yeah, excited to chalk it up with you.
It does feel, and I mentioned it on Twitter today, that like when camps open up around the NFL, it does feel like the summer's over. Like, it's like, okay, summer's over. Let's go. What's the storyline that you're the most interested in finding out about during this camp? It could be any team, any position. What are you the most interested in finding out about?
Yeah, I know one of the backfields that is pretty ambiguous that fantasy managers are trying to figure out is the Jacksonville Jaguars. So there's a lot of guys in that backfield that we're not exactly sure how to peg, because Travis Etienne has been the guy the last couple of years, but he's been disappointing. He's been banged up. Tank Bigsby in his second year kind of popped off last year with a lot of big runs, especially in London against our Patriots. He really ran over the Patriots. So can't forget that. And then they drafted someone in round 4, Bashal Tootin from Virginia Tech, really exciting, explosive rookie under the new regime. So what type of commitment do they have to him versus the incumbent players? Again, it's a new coaching staff, a new GM. So there's no allegiance really anywhere besides to a potential round 4 pick who, yes, he's exciting, but he also has ball security issues. So who is going to win this running back battle? And does someone get dealt? Does someone get traded to kind of open things up if there's a preseason injury during training camp? So we know that someone is going to pop off in this backfield just based on what we saw last year in Tampa Bay with Liam Cohen, where both Rashad White and Bucky Irving were productive for fantasy football purposes. So Jacksonville, I'm going to be trying to pay attention to very, very closely to see who can emerge from this backfield.
I told the guys, if you have questions for Erickson, go ahead and fire them in the chat. I'll do my best to get them answered here during this conversation. When we're talking fantasy, what do you do with the number 2 pick overall? Is he a receiver? Is he a defensive back? Like, what are we doing here with Hunter? Because it sounds like he's going to get the chance to play both, but does that take him away from someone that you should be targeting in fantasy?
I don't think so. because I think that the defensive concerns, especially because you don't score points in most fantasy leagues for the defensive statistics, really it's just you're putting him out there for more injury risk for fantasy managers. So it's not a good thing. The less defense he plays, the better it is for fantasy. It is a little bit different in some leagues that do reward points for defense. So you have to kind of view him in a totally different lens. But where he's going, where you can expect to draft him in round 6 or 7 as a wide receiver 3, I think that is capturing the upside case of, hey, this was a wide receiver that was drafted 2nd overall. Like, he's a very good player. And based on what we saw with Cohen again last year with Tampa Bay, if he's operating out of the slot, he's seeing a very high target rate per route run. So they're using him. When he's on the field on offense, it's pretty clear, hey, he's going to get the ball. They're not going to put it out there to run routes because he's already doing enough on defense as it is. So I think that's the case with Hunter, that there is that upside with him still. And I wouldn't be, if he was more expensive, if there was an overconfidence and he's only going to play offense, then I think I might be a little bit more gun shy. But based on his projected ADP, wide receiver 30 range, I think that he's worth taking the shot on.
Before I ask Jimmy Football's question about tight ends and the Ravens, where are you on the Ravens? Because there's a betting opportunity here. There's a lot of love for Baltimore. They have addressed their secondary. They look like the best team on paper in the AFC. Where are you on Baltimore?
Yeah, so I am, as you know, Matt, something I like to look at is the trends. And last year, one of the biggest trends that I followed till the end was fading the healthiest team on offense last year. Who was that team? The San Francisco 49ers. And what happened? They had the worst injury luck you could possibly have, because when you have one season where you're very healthy, the next season, it's going to regress and you're not going to be nearly as healthy. And last year, the Ravens, as good as they were really healthy on offense. So that's why I'm hesitant, because I understand if you just look at it on paper, like, this team is so good. Like, why could I not bet on the Ravens? But if you guys go down, offensive line injuries, Lamar misses time, any of those types of scenarios, and then you're looking at a team that, oh, they're not going to be as good, especially when you're playing in that ultra competitive AFC North, the black and blue division. So for those reasons, I'm a little bit lower on some of these Ravens players just because of those circumstantial factors, especially from a betting perspective.
Jimmy Football wants to know about Isaiah Likely at tight end. Sounds like the Ravens are making Andrews the starter again. Can you rely on Isaiah Likely to have maybe a step in the right direction season? Maybe not be number 1, but close to having as good of a year as Mark Andrews?
I think so. I think the Isaiah Likely takeover could happen right before our eyes this season. It's funny when when any one of the Ravens head coach at Harbaugh or the GM has talked about Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, they've always talked about, yeah, Andrews, we're going to keep him around. You know, he's not on the trade block. Okay. But then when they talk about Isaiah Likely, it seems it's like their eyes glow. We want this guy to be an all-pro player. We want to sign him to a contract extension, because both of these guys are entering the final years of their deals. So I think that they're going to give the runway to Isaiah Likely to, hey, take it off and run with it, because he's the guy I think they want long-term to be their main tight end. Whereas Mark Andrews, he fell off decently last year. And again, what happened in the playoffs, you know, he's trying to move on from that, but it still happened. And I just think that Isaiah Likely is a superstar in the making. So he's definitely someone that I think is a great snag late in your fantasy drafts. Put him on your bench, and wouldn't be surprised if he's out producing Mark Andrews over the first month.
Wow, in the first month. Okay. Vinny wants to know top 3 rookie running backs for a dynasty league. Who do you like to come in and have a big impact?
So it's Ashton Genty, number 1, of course, for the Las Vegas Raiders. He's going to get so many touches. It's just a matter of can he handle all the work that he's going to see in that Raiders backfield. Number 2 would be Omarion Hampton for the Los Angeles Chargers. And I think that he's kind of closing the gap a little bit on Genty, also a first-round pick. And the more time that Najee Harris misses with this superficial eye injury, the more first-team reps that Omarion Hampton's going to get. So that would be the second guy for me. And then the third one, I could go with one of the Ohio State running backs, whether it's Henderson or Quinshon Judkins, just kind of based on their draft capital. But I'm actually going to go around later because I do see some potential. Again, Judkins obviously has off-the-field concerns, and Henderson, as great and explosive as a pass catcher he can be, there's still other running backs in the Patriots backfield that they may like to use in a committee, especially with Josh McDaniels calling the shots. So for me, it's Caleb Johnson, the running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers that was drafted in round 3. When I scouted him coming out, he reminded me so much of Derrick Henry, and who had a lot of success with Derrick Henry? Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So just given the amount of backfield touches available in Pittsburgh after Najee Harris left. I mean, there's over 250 carries that they have to put on a certain running back. It's not going to be Jaylen Warren as that main ball carrier. So Caleb Johnson, I think, has immense upside, even though he was a round 3 pick.
Very cool. Next question from Brendan. How do we look at the Bucs wide receiver room? Can Evans stay on top as number 1 option for Baker Mayfield?
It's death taxes and Mike Evans getting 1,000 yards every single year. It has to be a team goal at this point where Todd Bowles comes to the locker room. He's like, all right, this year we got to win the division. We got to get Mike Evans 1,000 yards. Those are the 2 main goals, and this year will be a success. So I think Mike Evans, and I'm not going to bet against the guy. He's just so consistent year in and year out. I don't think you're ever going to feel bad about clicking him in your fantasy league. Yes, he's going to miss some time when the hamstring injury pops up like it does every year, but he has monster games where he scores 3 touchdowns, goes over 100 yards, and he wins you a week. So Evans, I think, is still the top dog. But given the recent injury news about Chris Godwin, now he's had another surgery on his ankle. I think that the second guy you want to go to is the rookie, Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State. I think he offers a really high floor, especially operating out of the slot. If Godwin is slow to come back, he's an older receiver. He's dealt through a lot of injuries throughout his NFL career, especially recently. So I think Evans is the top dog, and I think Egbuka is really starting to rise. He's another guy to really pay attention to during training camp, especially with Godwin still, injured.
So every Thursday, D-Bro, our compatriot fantasy pros and betting pros, has been coming on, and we're breaking down divisions, and he's giving us season-long props he likes per division. The first division we did was the NFC East, and he's making news online everywhere, fantasy pros, about his love for George Pickens. He thinks George Pickens is going to have a monster year over on receptions. He thinks he's going to be a huge weapon for the Dallas Cowboys. Pickens said yesterday, I'm definitely excited to run better plays with the Cowboys. So he's throwing shade here, chucking it at his former team and the Steelers. Where are you on the George Pickens and Dak Prescott relationship going forward?
Yeah, I think D-Bro's been in my ear because I'm buying the hype on George Pickens. And this wasn't how I initially felt because I like to look at trends, and the Steelers have been one of these teams where they've gotten out at the right time with a lot of these Steelers receivers. Like, they've been on the ball when it comes to, Antonio Brown, see ya. Deontay Johnson, see ya. Chase Claypool, see ya. But they did have one miss before, Emmanuel Sanders. He had a monster year in his first year away from Pittsburgh in Denver. So is that the case with Pickens, where it's so clear that he's playing in a pass-happy offense really for the first time? He's playing with the best quarterback of his NFL career. I think that that's so clear to see. And maybe he's not the alpha, but stylistically on paper, he seems like he just fits so well with what Dak Prescott can do as a downfield wide receiver. And as I was looking to try to make the bullish case for Pickens when it comes to, okay, he's going to have his head screwed on right, because that's really the question we're trying to answer here. Again, it's a contract year for him. The Dallas Cowboys have already said they're not going to give him a contract. He has to play through his rookie deal and earn the contract at the end of the year, whether it's through Dallas or another team. So the financial motivation is there for him to go out and ball out. I did think that it was really interesting, though, looking through the coaching additions that the Dallas Cowboys made, and a guy that they signed as I believe he's the wide receivers coach now. So he actually spent last year in New England. But before that, 2022 to 2023, Tyquan Underwood, again, also a former Patriots player, he was the assistant wide receiver coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers during Pickens' first 2 years. So did Dallas strategically bring in Tyquan Underwood because, hey, you can keep George Pickens on the straight arrow path. You can keep him locked in and focused, and that's what I'm going to be buying. So, I'm agreeing with D-Bro here that George Pickens, I think, could be an absolute smash.
One more from the audience from Ish. As a Bronco fan, I'm curious about what the Broncos are going to do with their running back situation. I know that's a Fantasy Pros hot button topic for you guys, especially if he wants to draft a running back for fantasy this year. By just watching you guys interact on X and Twitter, I'm taking you guys are really high on the running backs for the Broncos.
Yeah, it's the Sean Payton offense is very favorable for running backs to catch passes out of the backfield. You look at the recently ranked offensive lines, the Denver Broncos. If you look at just consensus offensive line rankings, they're top 3 across the board. So just a really good situation. Now, no one's going to be able to get RJ Harvey, the rookie running back they took in a league with D-Bro, because he has him ranked as a top 12 running back. So so just forget about it. I do think that he has a lot of appeal just based on the situation, is that he can catch passes, very explosive. But the value play for me is still J.K. Dobbins, right? He's not built to last like a Derrick Henry type of player, but he should start out the gates really hot. The Denver Broncos, week 1, they're playing the Tennessee Titans. I know that we're going to be looking at survivor pools, talking about that. Yep. The Denver Broncos, yes, last year was positive for them, and they didn't necessarily play up to their weight class when they faced better teams in 2024. But the thing that they did do, they killed the bad teams last year. Sean Payton took out it all on these bad teams, and that's when Bo Nix had a lot of his best numbered games were against bad teams. Look, I think Cam Ward can be a quarterback in the NFL, but week 1 on the road at Denver, I'm expecting a Denver Broncos beatdown.
Interesting. I'm not going to ask you the homework question about the Patriots. We'll save that for a different time this summer because we're going to bring you back, obviously, on and have further conversations. I'll end the conversation with a question about the Raiders, but the other team where I live full time in Las Vegas. There are some people in Vegas who are getting in my ear and telling me that look out for the Raiders this year with Pete Carroll, that this team is going to be better with Geno Smith at quarterback, with Genty at the running back spot, with the defense that they had already and the additions they have made, that the Raiders are going to be much more than just a pushover this coming year and might actually threaten for a playoff spot. Are you buying the hype with Carroll and the Raiders?
I think when you look at the team, I understand making that case, but when you just look at the division, it's just hard to crunch those numbers where the Raiders can make a run because of how good that division is. I mean, are the Broncos going to be worse or better? They have a top 10 defense, top 5 defense. The Chiefs, we know they're always going to be in playoff contention every single year. And you have the Chargers. They still have Justin Herbert. They have Harbaugh. So yes, in a vacuum, the Raiders look like a team on the up and up, that they made all of these improvements. But when push comes to shove, that division is really, really competitive. So I think that, and we talked about this on one of the Betting Pro shows, because we're also going division by division, kind of breaking it down between Joey P and Terrell Furman. And we talked about the Raiders as this team is going to probably be better than its win-loss record is. And it's probably going to be a team that we're going to be backing with the points a lot of the time, because the Raiders are playing close every single week. They got Geno, they got Genty. It's an underrated team. But when the final win-loss columns kind of come out, I think they're probably going to still be losing more games than winning.
Quick follow-up. Would you take Ashton Genty high in a fifth draft? Is he someone to target?
I think so. I think that the conversation between him is, you're looking at Saquon Barkley again as another running back, also Christian McCaffrey as another running back in that range. And I don't know. I don't want to overthink it. I get that he's a rookie, but do I really want to bet against a 21-year-old rookie who is an elite prospect profile coming in versus these significantly older running backs that have just so much volume on them, where no one's going to get surprised if these guys miss time. It happens all the time with these older running backs, whereas Genty, he is ready to go. And I think he's just going to, I mean, the guy behind him is Raheem Mostert, who's a 33-year-old running back that's made of glass. Like, that's his backup. So I feel confident. It's weird to look at Genty as a high floor player because he's never taken an NFL snap, but just based on what he's bringing, what he can offer to the table and his projected workload. I mean, if he fails, it's because he wasn't good enough as a talent, not because he didn't get the opportunity, which again, we know in fantasy, volume is king. So he should have the volume, and it's up to him to ultimately be worthy of that pick.
Eric said the guys want more like this in coverage all summer long as we head towards kickoff for this year in the NFL. How can they find you?
Over on Fantasy Pros, you have the draft kit, all the great stuff over there. Make sure you subscribe to the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast, and I'll be posting out different types of fantasy nuggets on my X account, Instagram, TikTok, all the socials. So yeah, go follow us at Fantasy Pros and at Betting Pros.
And what's your handle?
At Andrew Erickson _.
Come on, you got to give the social plug there for yourself. You can't just pump the company. Come on, my friend.
I'm a company man. What can I say?
You are. We're doing this again soon. I apologize for the delay not having you on. We'll do it again very soon. Thank you for the time. Really appreciate it, bud.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Andrew Erickson from Fantasy Pros joining us here on the BVB on Bostonian versus the Book. Great to get him on the program. That's my bad. I don't know why it took him that long to get him on. He's him and I have done so many things. We do a Sunday show together on Betting Pros. That's really fun. And we do a lot of things together in the football season. Where is that overlay? Sorry. Hold on. Let me fix that. There it is for that. So good to get him on the program. Look, football's back. Okay. We're going to spend a lot of time talking football tomorrow. D-Bro's on. NFC South will be tomorrow to break down from a betting perspective, season-long prop bets that he likes. We've done the NFC East and we've done the NFC North. So now we're doing the NFC South coming up tomorrow. If you guys have missed the 2 previous conversations, every Thursday, D-Bro from Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros has been joining us. It's been a lot of fun to get into it. So we'll do our 3rd different division coming up tomorrow. Let's talk about last night. Well, what happened last night, the Dodgers are in deep trouble. The Dodgers have lost 11 of 14. Their bullpen blew up again. And now there's some real questions about this Dodger team because they can't beat even mediocre teams. Their record basically is entirely against teams under 500. When they play teams that are 500 or better, and the Twins aren't really one of them, they're kind of a 500 team, they are having a tough time beating anybody. They got swept by the Brewers, both in LA and in Milwaukee. They just look like a team that knows that they're going to be in the playoffs, and they played a lot of baseball last year, and the injuries are starting to take its toll on the Dodgers. Another game in which their bullpen did not come through, another loss, and we are going to start to have some big conversations about this team and matchups as to who they may face in the playoffs. No guarantee they get there. I think that they do, but boy, oh boy, another loss for the Dodgers. How about Cal Raleigh? 39th home run last night, only run of the game. Mariners snapped the Brewers' 11-game win streak. 1-0 win last night as Cal Raleigh is continuing to be a monster story in Major League Baseball for the switch-hitting catcher. 39 home runs here before we get to the month of August. What will he wind up with? 60, 65? He's the offense for the Mariners. At least he was last night. The Red Sox lost again last night. They are now only a half a game up for the 3rd wildcard spot over Tampa. And when you look at the standings in the American League, the wildcard race is going to be a ton of fun. We've got the Yankees, Mariners, and Red Sox who are currently occupying the 3 AL wildcard spots. Tampa, Texas, Cleveland. Those teams are right behind them, 56 and 45. 56 is the number one. 56 wins is the number one record for wins for the Yankees. Look at the Cubs and the Brewers, both at 60 wins and 41 losses. They are identical. So one of those teams will win the division. The other team will be in the playoffs. 58 and 44 for the Mets, 55 and 46 for the Padres. The Giants, Reds, and Cardinals are the next teams. You tell me. Rays, Rangers, Guardian, Red Sox. Are those teams like good? Are those teams like teams you'd fear? Like the Red Sox have got Crochet and they've gotten decent starting pitching, but they can't hit at the moment. After the All-Star break, their bats are ice cold. The Rays and the Rangers, well, they can't really score either. The Rangers offense can't do anything. They can pitch fairly well. At home, their games are always going under, and they're 2 games over 500. I don't like the Guardians at all. I think their lineup is garbage, to be quite honest. I just don't think the American League is very good. I like the Cardinals. They're 52 and 50. If they wind up going 81 and 81, they're over their win total of 76 and a half by a ways. The Reds have got some young arms and some talented bats. The Giants, well, they're still 4 games over 500, even with their offensive woes. And the Padres, well, look, 55 and 46 for the Padres. They're due for a run. They're due to run off, 8 of 10 at some point in the very near future. And finally for baseball, Rafael Devers finally played first base. Amazing. Devers played first base for the Giants yesterday. First time ever. No errors for him. Giants rolled the Braves easily yesterday. Same 2 teams go at it coming up here for tonight. And one of those games is part of the segment that we call Just the Picks. All right, just the picks. Speaking of the Braves and the Giants, Justin Verlander is going to the mound today for the Giants. Well, that means we're rolling with the Braves and the run line for the Braves. It's 6 straight losses, all of them on the run line for games started by Justin Verlander with the Giants. They keep on running him out. Now, he only went 2 2/3 in his last start before they yanked him. He's done. Like, he is washed. The career is over for Justin Verlander. And I don't know why the Giants keep on running him out there, knowing that he does not have it. But until they stop throwing him out there, we're going to bet against it. And we're going to take the Braves on the run line at plus 120 or better because shop around, find the price. That's what I got last night was plus 120. Verlander cannot be trusted. And the Giants offense can't be. Oh, that game already started. Okay, thank you. Giants are up 3-0 right now. Ha! Funny. Look at that. Thank you. Appreciate that. That game already started. Sorry. So that's my bet on that. I didn't realize we had day baseball today. I thought that was a night game for that. That's my West Coast, East Coast getting crossed up between the two. So yeah, it's 3-0 there. A lot of day baseball today. 3-0 on that for that. So it's not horrible, not dead, but Verlander's been good after I just trashed him. Verlander was great. 4 innings, no earned runs, 4 walks. So the Braves got around it, but we'll see if that bullpen can hold up for the Giants on that. You'll say, oops, never mind. Yep. Exactly on that. Team total for the Braves live wouldn't be bad to jump in on that. And then let's see. The other bet has started as well for me with the Reds. I have the Reds on the money line up against the Reds and the Nationals. I have this and them on the money line at 1-0. You can still jump in on that. It's a little expensive. It's $250 at the moment for the Reds, up 1-0 on the Nats. Lodolo pitched great. 6 innings. He's still in the game. 76 pitches, 3 hits for him, 6 innings for that. So that was the other bet was the Reds. So didn't realize we had 2-day baseball games. That's me getting crossed up when I add on 3 hours. When I see 12:30 for a start time, I think that's 3:30. So that's an East Coast, West Coast flip flop on me on that. But let's see. Cub game starts later. Yeah, Cub game starts at 2:20 Eastern. We can do the prop bet of the day, thankfully. Yeah, I would say that you should go ahead and Ben Racone saying blind bet when Rich Hill pitches. 6-0 win yesterday for the Cubs up against the Royals. Yeah, look, he's 45 years old. He shouldn't be in the big leagues. He didn't pitch horribly yesterday, but a 6-0 win for the Cubs yesterday. Cubs and the Royals go at it again. Look, we bet it yesterday, and we're 2-0 so far in the week for the prop bet play of the day. We're going to do it again, okay? Come in here and bet the guy that should be the all-star, the MVP, if it wasn't for Shohei Ohtani and Pete Crow Armstrong of the Cubs. 4 straight games in which he has played, he has gone over 1.5 total bases. He's hit a double in 3 of 4, hit a home run in the other game. He's had 2, 5, 4, and 2 total bases over the last 4 games. And and I know it's Seth Lugo, he's not a horrible pitcher by any means, but PCA he right now is one of the most dangerous hitters in Major League Baseball. It's impossible to get him out. It's just impossible to get him out. So for me, I bet him yesterday. Bet it again. That game starts at 2:20 in about 30 minutes. That game will start. So if you guys are on the replay, I apologize. But if you guys are live, I think PCA over 1.5 bases against the Royals. Bet the streak. Just go ahead and bet that streak and roll with it on that for Pete Crow Armstrong to go over 1.5 total bases for today. All right, time now for the Circa Sports. And look, our friends at Circa had a big announcement today. I'll get to here in just 1 second. But our Circa Sports story, NFL Pro Football Story of the Day. Ultimate Contest Weekend, August 21st and 22nd. BVB will be broadcasting live. Looking forward to seeing you guys over there, as we'll have a big party with our friends at Circa to celebrate Circa Million, Circa Survivor, happening 5 games against the spread for $1 million for your share of $6 million, and then 20 picks. You got to go 20-0 for Circa Survivor to get all of it or your share of $16 million. Enter in Nevada to get to play anywhere. You must be physically present in the state of Nevada with a proxy that you can hire or do it yourself in Nevada. For full information and details and rules, go to circusports.com. Okay, this is, we kind of talked about this a little bit with Erickson, but George Pickens deciding to throw shade at the Steelers offense is really interesting. Like, I'm definitely excited to run better plays with the Cowboys. Okay, I'm not even going to listen to this, to be quite honest, because George Pickens has been such a head case And he's the Dallas Cowboys' problem right now. But people believe, and you've seen Debro, you just heard Erickson. There's a lot of people in the fantasy space and the gambling space that believe that George Pickens is going to have a huge year with CeeDee Lamb on the other side and Dak Prescott throwing the football, that Pickens is going to have a ton of opportunities with the football. Now, maybe that's what's going to happen. Maybe. I don't know. But really interesting to see what's going to happen for George Pickens. But my gut tells me this is not the last time he's going to decide to pick up some dirt and throw it at his former team when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I made mention of what's happening in Kentucky. And yeah, Benson, good job, Alex, on that. Benson's ex-post. So they're opening up a studio. And we knew that. Remember when we went to the Circus Sports to the Mint in Kentucky, which was so much fun. So they're opening up a VSiN studio there, which is really neat. And, one of our friends is being sent out there to host the show. And it's neat to see that part. They've opened up a Circus Sports Kentucky. My gut tells me that, BVB at some point will go back over there to be a part of it. It was awesome to be there for the beginning. We can't wait to go back there again. The Mint Gaming Hall is just about 30 minutes outside of Nashville, depending on what part of Nashville you live in. SEC, basketball tournament next year. Maybe we go back for that. Really cool stuff. So congratulations to both, to Circa, to the Mint, and to VSiN to all get together and do that. That's going to be really cool for them to have that opportunity to put that out there. So looking forward to the next time we go back to that property. If you guys didn't make it out before, you're going to Kentucky next week. All right, Chef Benny, good stuff. Head over to Kentucky. Fun part of the country. I love Nashville to death. I lived on the other side. Like Franklin is right across the border to the north. I lived just across the border to the south. I lived in Huntsville, which we're just straight down going from Nashville on that. So that's where I lived, but very, very cool. It's part of the country happening, hip part of the country. A lot of cool stuff going on. Time for the Brigade Proxy College Football Team of the Day. Oh, our Brigade Proxy Service College Football Team of the Day. It is Notre Dame with their win total of 10.5. If you guys would like to hire the Brigade Proxy Service for yours, whether it be the Westgate or the Circa contests, both college and professional, for the Westgate, just pro for the folks at Circa, you can text us at 702-570-8255 to book your appointment, or go to our website, thebvbshow.com. Yes, we are still doing it. There are some things, obviously, that are making it a bit more difficult for us from a sign-up perspective, but we can take care of you. And if we can't, we will direct you to one of our friends in the industry that will get you taken care of with a proxy this coming year. So if you're coming to Vegas in the next couple of weeks, we'll direct you in the right direction. If you're going to be in town after August the 11th, you can just text, it goes to me. I will set up the appointment, and we will see you at Circa at 702-570-8255. It is Notre Dame, the Irish. Interesting year. So let's look at Notre Dame and their schedule as to where the Irish will go. 10.5. I mean, okay. That's a little high. I mean, that's 10.5. Riley Leonard's gone. CJ Carr or another option at quarterback, maybe here. Kenny Minchie may come in. Let's see. Lloyd Carr, we talked about him earlier in the program. Lloyd Carr, it's his grandson that could wind up being the top 50 recruit. Big arm, big football pedigree here. They're going to run the football. That's going to happen. They're going to have a stockpile of linebackers and defensive players to hang your hat on. But that game at Miami and then A&M at home is one of the more difficult starts to a season that we have talked about. I mean, you're talking about two power conference teams right out of the gate for the Irish. That's why if you look at the win total being 10.5, it's juiced to the under. It should be juiced to the under. It's minus 148 to the under. They'll beat Purdue. Arkansas on the road is a really interesting game. It's a road game against an SEC school. Okay. Boise at home. Boise's going to South Bend. Love it. NC State, USC, at Boston College, Navy, who isn't the pushover that they have been in years prior, at Pittsburgh, Syracuse, and at Stanford. I'm not that high on the Irish, and that's why they're 14-1 to win the national championship. Like, there's a lot of question marks among surrounding this team as to where they're going to go. Miami and then Texas A&M. You're playing 2 SEC schools, Notre Dame. 2. That's not typical for the Irish to play 2 schools out of the SEC in the regular season. And a lot of this is sort of like, in my mind, because you can lose. Like, you can lose games early. Some people think that Miami could beat Notre Dame out of the gate as they get their feet underneath them. Like, that's Pete Futek. Our guy Pete thinks the Irish are going to lose to Miami. That Carson Beck is going to take Miami and beat Notre Dame in week number 1. If that happens, do they lose both games? I mean, remember, this is an Irish team last year that lost to Northern Illinois early, right? Stubbed their toe. So I would kind of agree-ish. No shot. Give me the under. Yeah, I think they could lose 3 games. I think it's really possible that they go 9-3. Heck, they go 10-2. You're hitting the under. So minus 148 on the Irish to go under. I think that's a pretty good bet. I know there's a lot of folks who are, Notre Dame fans that aren't going to like that, but I think that schedule is really tough. Road games at Miami, Arkansas, Boston College, Pitt, and Stanford, and then home games against A&M and Purdue, Boise, USC, and Syracuse. The Navy games on a neutral. And again, Navy's not just a pushover like they used to be. 10-2 or 9-3 for the Irish. Man alive. Give me the under. I think we're going under for Notre Dame this year, football-wise. And just at the quarterback spot, too many questions at key positions for the Irish here going forward. And I don't know. 11-1. Some folks think that they might not go 11-1. I'm not one of them. I think that they'll go 10-2 or worse. And that would mean under 10.5 wins for Notre Dame. Time for the news of the industry. Well, a lot of news has been made about Las Vegas, and the news has not been good. The city in which I live has seen hotel occupancy drop below 70% in the month of July. And that is causing a lot of resorts to have to make big decisions. And the winner in all of this is going to be the consumer. Excuse me. Vegas has nickel and dimed too often and too much, and people have had it. And I'm not saying they're wrong for being frustrated, for being mad, for being angry about everything that's gone on when they go to pay $27 waters or $5 pizza cutting fees. Now, some resorts are paying attention. First, Resorts World got rid of their resort fees. Across the street is Sahara from Resorts World. They have announced that they will eliminate their resorts fees for the summer, for July and August. I hope this trend continues. I hope we see more properties follow suit, because there has to be way more incentives for people to come back to Las Vegas. Because at the moment, there is so much bad press. I cannot tell you how many people that I meet here on the East Coast, in New Hampshire, in Massachusetts, and I tell them where I live, and their first thing that they say to me is, "What's going on in your city? No one's going, huh?" Like, it is well known that Vegas occupancy is way down. It's been a dramatic drop. In fact, it's the most dramatic drop of any city in America at the moment from a resort perspective. We're down, we're talking under 70%, just a cliff. And when these properties are at 65 and 68% occupancy, they can't pay the rent. Like, literally, they can't pay the rent. So gambling can only make up so much, Because if the casinos are not filled up and the hotel rooms are not filled up, that means the tables aren't producing. That means the restaurants aren't making money. It means the bars aren't making money. And now you're in a hole that you can't get out of. Look, July is always a slow month in Vegas. Don't overthink it. July is always slow. The second we get to Labor Day, everything changes. People come to Vegas like crazy. They want to go to the events. They want to go to Circa. They want to go to games. There's a million things going on in Vegas once we get to the fall. But getting through the fall or getting to the fall is often very difficult. It's been even more so now because the international travelers just are not showing up. It's not just in Vegas, though, because I was in a part of Maine that normally over the 4th of July would be completely jammed. It was dead. And I mean, it was dead. And the answer that when we asked someone what was going on, the answer was nobody from Canada is going on vacation in America. It's not just Vegas. It's also New England. People coming down from Montreal and Prince Edward Island and all those properties, all those providences coming down to New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Maine aren't doing it. They are not coming across the border. So there are some significant financial implications from the travel world, the tourism world, that just is not happening. And people in Vegas will clearly tell you that people are not coming back. Nickel and diming has caused them to go to Vegas once, twice, if that, a year, where they would go 4 or 5 times. They just aren't going back. It's a massive, massive problem for Vegas. If you guys are with us live, we'll continue this conversation on the other side into bonus time. If you're on the replay crew, thank you very much for being here. We're back tomorrow on a Thursday. Debro will join us. We'll break down the NFC South. Thank you to Andrew Erickson, also Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros, for stopping by here today, talking some football with us. Bonus time starts now. Chicago Christian puts up a pretty interesting point. Why go to Vegas to gamble when you get casinos all over the country? I can stay home and gamble and not pay a resort fee and pay $25 a drink with little booze. That is true. Okay, that is true. Here's the problem. We've had gambling all over the country. All the time. All the time. Think about places I've gambled. I watched the tuck rule in a casino in Tunica, Mississippi. First place I ever gambled in person was in Atlantic City in New Jersey. I've been to the boats in Missouri outside of St. Louis. I've been to the casinos in Missouri, in St. Louis. I've gambled in all, California casinos. I've gambled in casinos in New Hampshire. I've gambled in casinos in Massachusetts. I've gambled in casinos in Pennsylvania. The fact that gambling is all over the country is not why Vegas is down. Vegas is down more to the second part of her point. The second part of her point is the money. Why do I go to Las Vegas and pay a resorts fee, pay $25 a drink with little booze? Why do I want to go? It's not worth it. It's not worth it. The value of Las Vegas is gone. They have killed it. If you guys remember the end of the movie Casino, there's a narrator voiceover done by Robert De Niro talking about the corporations that have taken over Las Vegas. It took a bit longer than what the movie thought it would. When the junk bonds of the 80s and the tech boom of the 90s, that Vegas would eventually destroy itself by lacking or forgetting what made Las Vegas special. Took a little while, but that is what's caused the problem. Las Vegas has forgotten its secret sauce, which is customer service, which is giving somebody a lot for a little, making them feel like they're $1 million when they're spending 10. But instead we have robot bartenders, remote check-in, and fee upon fee upon fee of everything. Here's the good news. It is resonating and people are paying attention. Those people that have gigantic mortgages that must be paid are now paying attention. There is real panic going on in Las Vegas. people who are in charge are beginning to make changes. My gut tells me that resorts fees will be gone within a year. I don't think anybody will have resorts fees anymore. Secondly, I think parking one day will go back to free parking. I have a dream that Vegas will one day wake up and realize how stupid it was to charge people for coming onto their property, because it's not that great. Okay? You ever go to New York? You ever go to MGM? You ever go to Excalibur? You ever go to these properties? They were built in the 90s and they look it. They're old. So if you're asking me to shell out money for the privilege to just step on your property, you better have it be glistening and gorgeous. It better be brand spanking new. So these are the questions I have for the market going forward. How quickly will that happen? How quickly will things change? Because it's going to change. It's going to change. The NFL being in Vegas is great. The Sphere is tremendous. There are unique and wonderful reasons to go to Las Vegas. The food is unbleeping believable. Okay? It is still my favorite place to live that I've ever lived in my 48 years. I love Las Vegas. I have a deep, deep appreciation for the market and the people that make it Las Vegas. But the people who pull money out of the town, the people who put the strip in the strip, if you know what I mean, they got to stop. Okay? They all have to stop. And I think that they're finally figuring it out. I think there are certain properties, again, Sahara following suit from Resorts World. I think the next step will probably be one of the big boys, Caesars, MGM, somebody will say, okay, enough is enough. We got to figure this out. We're losing, because you can't just make money on everyone who is rich, because that's ultimately what Vegas started to do. Vegas said, okay, we're going to make so much money in the high roller room and so much money on F1 and so much money on all these different things that we don't care about the little guy. But the little guy just stopped showing up. And all of a sudden, the bottom line was now a big problem, because that big guy, the 2%ers, the 1%ers, they can't keep you afloat. They don't come back enough. You can't be an event town if you're Las Vegas. You need a Tuesday, Wednesday person to show up and come in and spend $50 at dinner and blow $100 on your table. You need those people. And you forgot about those people. You look down on those people. You haven't served those people at all in the last 5 years. Instead, you want to take them for $27 waters. I mean, I posted this last week, but I was sifting through a new restaurant, or I guess it's not new, but it's new to me. There's a pizza shop down on the Link Promenade that now has a gluten-free pizza that I want to try. I'm someone who loves gluten. I'm gluten-free. I have gluten allergy. So I can't eat pizza a lot of times. Good Pie downtown gets all of my business when I want pizza. Now there's a new one. So I went to it and I was looking at the menu, and as I saw the menu and went down, looked at the menu, they had a $5 charge to cut the pizza. And when I did some more research on it as to what they're doing, it's not one person, but if there are two people and you split the pizza, they add $5 onto the pie. You have to order your own individual pie to avoid that charge. There has to be two people, two pizzas. If it's one person and two pizzas, they charge you $5. What the fuck is that? Might be the single dumbest thing I've seen in a long time for a place to do it. Calling it a pizza cutting charge. A pizza cutting charge. It's only $5, but fuck you. Okay? Like straight up. Like they like no. Like absolutely there's no way that I am ever going to pay something like that. And that's what it is to everyone and every day who's in town, who just is looking at the receipts and looking at what they've spent. And they're like, what is going on with Vegas? What is this? People in California used to, on a whim, it's how I first went to Vegas, on a whim. What are we doing tonight? I don't know. Vegas? Yeah, let's go. Because you could go and spend $200 on a night, and that's it. That includes hotel, show, food. $200. That's not even, you can't even get a nice room for $200 a night now. That's the problem. That's why the market has been such a is struggling so mightily. And the numbers, they're scared. I'll just say this. They are 100% scared as to what's going on. So bravo to Resorts World. Bravo to Sahara. Those people that are getting rid of resorts fees, please, more people need to go. The only way we change the whole market is by going to the people who are looking to change the market, right? Give them your business, because then others will follow suit. It's a copycat town, right? Once one person in the market charged for parking, everybody charged for parking. Once one property pulled off the no resorts fees, now there's 2, there'll be 3, there'll be 4, there'll be 5. It'll start, and we'll get it back to where it once was, hopefully, for Las Vegas. Time before we wrap the show. Favorite thing about today. For me, favorite thing about today. So, good news about tomorrow. I was excited. I learned this. So the rehearsal dinner's at 6 p.m. tomorrow night for my sister's wedding. So I'm going to be able to do the show same time as always. So tomorrow's a 1 o'clock Eastern time start. No early start time tomorrow. I thought we had to bump it up. We don't have to bump it up. So I'm excited about that. So that's good. We go until like 2:30 like we always do Eastern time. And then we'll be off on Friday. So tomorrow we will do the Cut It Out segment with a new twist. You guys have emailed, one of your fellow brigade members has come up with a pretty interesting idea. I hope this works. So if you're a Daily Juice listener, you remember the Discord bet of the week where I let people nominate plays, and then it was voted on by the audience as to what the play was going to be. We're going to do something similar to that. We're going to pick every Friday normally, but it's going to be Thursday tomorrow. We're going to pick the game of the day, and I'm going to give you 3 different markets that we can go ahead and pick. I'm going to do a poll. You guys are going to vote on which market, meaning like over, under 9.5. Money line, one side or the other. I'll give you a bunch of different plays on the play. From there, then we're going to do a poll for what bet is going to be the play. There could be a different twist to it. I may just say once we have the market, you guys can bet either side and go ahead and see who wins. And we're going to do it, and Cut's going to run it all for us. So there's going to be a brigade play. It's not so much the play of the day. It's more or less like the market of the day. The brigade game of the day will then lead to the Cut market of the day that we will have tomorrow. So we're still kicking around the ideas. I'll give you full details at the start of the show tomorrow before we talk to Debro. But the opening line tomorrow will be focused on that new betting opportunity to give you guys something to do together to go against each other. So stay tuned for more details tomorrow with our friends at Cut. But we're going to do a brigade bet where you guys can go ahead and bet either side of a play that you guys will pick on a game that I will pick. So I'll pick the game, you'll pick the market, and then you'll be able to bet on either side, essentially, is what we're going to do tomorrow. So favorite thing about today is I'm excited to get that rocking and rolling tomorrow coming up. And yes, the Discord bet had a unbelievably bad mark, Chef Benny. And I mean like unbelievably bad. The benefit is you guys are going to be able to bet on either side. So it's not like you guys are all being forced to, like that. The way we did that bet was you guys voted and it was my money that you lost. We're not doing that again. It's going to be your money, but there's obviously the sign up bonus and the things that we're doing. There's going to be potentially some free money out there from Cut to go ahead and win. So we got a bunch of things going on that. So it's you guys to be betting on either side of that market, like up against each other, not so much up against betting my money. So I'm not going to be the one losing money this time. It's going to be you guys on one side or the other betting on this market. More information on that coming up tomorrow. Debro tomorrow on the program. NFC South is the division we're going to break down. Our thanks to Andrew Erickson for stopping on by today. If you missed any part of that interview, go back and check it out. Like, subscribe, and tell somebody about BVB. And do us a favor, go write a note to our guy Dave Sherapan on Twitter X if you can, at SportsBK who is out of the hospital and does have his phone. So go ahead and send him a message and tell him that we're thinking of him. Back tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern for our Thursday's BVB.